Good evening, everyone. In the last few weeks, we have discussed marketing, finance, public health, and architect courses. Today, we discuss a new exciting field that is becoming very popular among students, sports management. Welcome to ULTV Student Diaries. I'm Shefali Shrivastava, Marketing Communication Manager at University of Liverpool. A master's degree in sports business and management, MSc Sports and Business Management, provides an in-depth understanding of how sports operates globally, its business, stakeholders, and disciplines. The course is focused on identifying the opportunities and the challenges facing the global sports industry. And to share more light on the subject, we are joined by Rishabh Mishra from Liverpool University, who's pursuing MSc in Business, Sports Business and Management. Hi, Rishabh. Welcome to your TV.
Hi, Shefali. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And this course is becoming really popular. We see a lot of questions on our community, people asking about this particular course. So before we dive into the more detailed conversation, just gives a brief understanding how exactly MSc's Sports Business and Management. What kind of course is this? If you can just tell me, we'll of course ask this question again. But how does it help in your career aspect?
Okay, so basically, in a very brief kind of a sentence, if you'll ask, it's a basic management degree, right? But with a, a great focus on sports, on how sports is run these days, and on how people make money out of sports. If you want me to put it really plainly, right? Sports was never used as a business tool about 20, 30, 40 years ago. But now what we see, with the likes of Instagram popping up, social media marketing popping up, you know uh, sports persons being treated as cult figures, being treated as god as well. Back home in India,
Yeah.
how Sachin was treated all his life. So the basic reason of me doing a degree in sports management was, number one, I always wanted to do something wherein it does not feel as I'm doing something. It's just like it's your passion, so you just do it just for the sake of doing it, right? And number two, it's a growing field. It's an industry wherein if you get in early, I think this is the first part of the industry, the first phase of the industry, wherein if you get in early, it's really hard to come out of the industry as well. So
Right.
my reasons of doing it were probably the love for the sport, and how, as also why I did it in the UK is, UK is the home of sports. You look at football, you look at cricket, you look at rugby, you look at everything. People are mad here for sports.
Right.
So it just gave me the right platform at that moment in time at my life at that time, to get into sports, to get here at the Uni of Liverpool. So yeah.
Great, great. I've got multiple questions that how you being an Indian student pursued your course, your passion into sports, and how did the parents reacted and everything. But we'll get to that later in the conversation. So, how has been your journey so far at Liverpool, at University of Liverpool, and if you can just share your course entail so far?
It's been great. It's been great, Shafali, because I came here on a full scholarship. So getting that itself initially was a big achievement of sorts for me in that case. So doing that, getting here to Liverpool, it's a sporting city, sports smart city. It's totally different from all the other parts of the UK. It's totally different. And the course as well, the different kind of modules that we had, not only specific to football. You I got to know so much about cricket, I got to know so much about golf as well, basketball, how these things are run, how the analytical side of sports is brought into place, as we see on different channels before any cricket game. How they analyze it. So there's a whole study behind it as well. So I just got to know everything in depth, and the journey has been great so far. So I'll be graduating in about 17-18 days from now. So the journey has been great.
That's great. That's great. Now you have mentioned that you got full scholarship. So I'm not going to ask
Yeah.
you any question about how did you went for a loan or something or not, but if you can tell how did you landed a full scholarship, that's a huge deal. A lot of people don't even, due to any XYZ reason, are not able to get normal term in scholarships, but you landed a full scholarship. So what was the insight take over here? What is the tip that you want to share with the students?
I think, what worked for me was that I knew where I wanted to go, right? I knew that for sports, there are good 4, 5 unis, and Uni of Liverpool was at the top end of the spectrum, right? So I knew these were the 4, 5 unis, and I applied really, really early. For the September intake, I probably applied in February, right? I applied in February, and I got my scholarship, I think, on in April. So it's my, and people have asked me, how did you get it? And I didn't have a great academic record, to be really honest, or something that sets me apart. But it was a good academic record. Plus, I worked as well in the education industry. Plus, I had my connects. So that got me through, in that sense, that applying early is the best for any student who is looking for a scholarship, and being really concise in their statement of purpose, that why do you want to do this. If you play around with the words that if I do this, I'll get this, what my suggestion always is that, right, why do you want to do this, right? Why do you want to do sports? Why sports? Why you? Because in any ways, getting a scholarship is just like getting a job as well. You have to stand out in terms of 10, 20 people. If you stand out, you get it. So my advice always is just to apply early, really early.
Apply, and of course, then you need to have a passion about it. It's not just for the
Yeah.
sake of it that you're doing or following some trend. You're doing it because
Yeah.
you are passionate, as you mentioned, that you're passionate about sports and you wanted to do something where you don't feel like that, okay, you're doing it out of, burden and all that. So that
Yeah.
I think that sets you apart from the other students. And you mentioned that you were not academically sharp, but I'm pretty sure you had good extracurricular activities that you might be doing over here, correct?
Yeah, yes, that's correct. Academically, I was okay. I would never say I flunked any subjects or I topped any subjects. I was okay. So it's a myth back in India as well that you need to be in the first percentage of your class, or you have to top your bachelor's, get placed at a MNC of sorts, or do something really brilliant in that case to get something of a scholarship, let alone a full scholarship. That's a myth. But in terms of the applying part, as you said, should be done early. And in terms of the extracurriculars, obviously you have to show your passion for the field that you're applying to. So as per my case, I worked in my sports committee editorial team. I used to write articles about different sporting events on campus. I used to organize sports. So back when I did my bachelor's from Bennett University, I organized a few events. I was in the cricket team. I managed teams as well. So the management part here comes into play, that I managed a few cricket teams. I managed to pull off sponsorship events. I managed to pull off these things. So then they take into account that this guy is not only a cricket player, but he can also make his own team, manage his own team per se. So yeah.
And that's about the course, right? Management and business, combining
Yeah.
both the things. Correct, correct. Now, see, sports, business, and management, to be honest, it has slowly and gradually picking up the pace among the generation, and now people are getting interested into it. Now they have started realizing that data is not just playing role in IT or marketing tech company, but also playing a major role in such sports fields, like whether we talk about cricket or any football. One who has pursued a bachelor's degree into some other subject, can they also pursue master's degree in sports and business management? So is there
Yes.
any specific eligibility criteria for the course?
No, no, not at the University of Liverpool in terms of the MSc Sports Business and Management. If you want to go for the MBA Football Business, then you need to show work X of about 2, 3 years, but not in the course that I did. No.
Okay, okay, that's great, that's great. Okay, now you must have grown to a different person altogether, what I can understand. Like we had a conversation also. how University of Liverpool helped you to grow into that person?
I think it's always about the journey that you undertake, right? And University of Liverpool did play a really significant role in that sense, because when I came to the UK, right, I obviously knew things, how about different things, how will you open a bank account, and that sort of things. But obviously, when you first arrive into a different country, right, with all the baggage that you have to do well, you have to get in the line, you have to, start your part time, start looking for full time jobs. At the same time, enjoy your social life, travel. So these things did get to me, right, of the expectations that I had from myself, that what I'll be doing in the coming 6 7 months. But Liverpool and University of Liverpool, right? Liverpool as a city and University of Liverpool as a unit, that actually made sure that I'm on the same field, right? When I talk to my batchmates, even if they are from India, they understand, you know, because all of us were in the same kind of a boat. And University of Liverpool gave us that flexibility in that sense, right? In terms of your assignments, in terms of the classes that we had. So I believe for anyone coming from a different country to the UK, knowing what you have to do is crucial. But also, I believe something that I did not do was to give yourself certain amount of time, right, to adjust, to make sure that things will fall into place eventually, right? If you will try to force it upon yourself, it won't happen, right? Different things. So just give yourself time whenever you're coming to a new city, new country, and things eventually will fall into place.
Yeah, that's a very subtle advice that you gave. A lot of people, especially students, and with our generation and with the new generation, it's like we all are in so much hurry that we want everything to happen like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like in one go. That's not true. You need to give yourself time. Even a tree grows over a period of time. It's a seed earlier,
Yep.
and then with respect to time and proper, nutrition and resource, it grows to a fulfilled tree. So it's very important to give yourself time, and that's a best advice I think students will hear in a very long time if they implement this. Great. Now you mentioned that you are almost like near your graduation ceremony. You'll be done with your master courses and then you'll be placed really soon. So how the whole career opportunity worked over there with this particular course? Did you join any some specific clubs with respect to have a good exposure to the networking events and all?
Yeah. So in terms of the networking events and the clubs, so I'm still, uh, I worked for Liverpool Football Club as in my part time, as we have to do part time shifts, to in a way sustain ourselves over here. So I worked for the Liverpool Football Club. I even worked for Everton Football Club. So these two clubs I worked for for my part time shifts, and they actually gave me certain insights into how pre-match operations work, post-match operations work, and how entire stadium is looked up upon during the match time, and how these stadiums are used when the season is not in progress, right? How you can make sure that these stadiums, the bigger stadiums that we have all across, are used in terms of any other events, making sure that they're not left empty in that sense. So this is for the work that I did with different sporting clubs here over here. And in terms of post-study job opportunities, it's, so to be really honest, sports industry is a bit different for any international student over here in the UK, because it's as I said earlier as well, it's difficult to get in, right? But once you get in, it's difficult to get out as well, right? Because the competition is so huge, it's so huge in that sense, because UK, I believe it only comes after the US, or on the same level as the US in terms of the sporting industry, and they have a very organized kind of an industry over here, right? That if you have to get in, you have to show certain kind of a, not, I'll not say passion, but you'll have to show certain kind of a thing that sets you apart from different candidates, right? So it's different, but what my seniors have also advised me and suggested me on that part is just keep applying. It will take some time. It'll take about 5-6 months to get into a proper job, not only doing casual hours like I did for Liverpool and Everton, right? But if you want to be on a proper, full-time job, it takes some time. And in that time you can actually grow your connects, make networks, work for different uh,
True.
sporting companies part-time as such. So yeah.
In fact, I think it works with every job field or work opportunity, I'll say. You need to give time to yourself. You just don't
Yeah.
get everything in just one go. You don't have everything on plate. There are multiple aspects to it. And with industry keeping changing on every second, you need to keep yourself updated and you need to, again, give yourself time. So, along with the whole pace, the whole thing's fall into the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Great, great. Now you've already given a couple of great advices for the viewers. But again, what advice would you suggest to anyone who's planning to study abroad?
Okay. So if you want to be be really honest, so one thing is that when I came to the UK, I thought it's gonna be totally different. Everything is gonna be totally different. Life would be easy. I'll just print money of that, to so to say, as we see in movies. If someone goes abroad, he just prints money, sends home. He sends the money back. He lives a lavish life. That may be true. I'm not saying that is not true. That may be true, but always do your research, right? Always do your research about where you're going, which city you're going, how will you get along in the city, and always come with a clear mind, not with any stereotypes in your mind, right? Always come to any country, not only UK, to any country. Even if you're going to Singapore, being in Asia, for Indian students, they think it's not that different. But even if you're going anywhere, just go with a clear mind, with no stereotypes, well researched, well read as well, and obviously on a good budget for initial few months, that you don't panic, in the first 3-4 months, that you don't panic if you're running low on your budget. So I think these are the, and also pre-network before you come to the UK. Obviously there are WhatsApp groups made on different platforms, Facebook groups made. Just try getting in touch with as many people as you can. It will really help you once you arrive to your said location.
Right, right. And to come with a clear mind and open mind is really important. Like we have people, for example, if we talk about there are many students who want to go with the same nationality. If they want to share the room, they want to be sure that, okay, I get into some PG or PBSA where, is the same environment. The environment is very same like their back country. That should not be the case. You're going over there for a global experience. If you're going to limit yourself to your own boundaries, if you limit yourself to your national boundaries, then you'll not be able to learn what you're going for there. That cross-cultural reference that everybody keeps on sharing happens only when you ensure that you don't let yourself close in some boundaries. And boundaries can be mental or physical, right? So you need to be really open into taking in all the information that is shared with you over there. So true, true. Now I want you to give one more advice to Indian students who want to convey their parents that they want to pursue a career in sports and management. How did you pursue your parents?
So for me, it was not that difficult, to be really honest, because uh, I come from Patna, Bihar, and it's the stereotype there that after 10th someone would take PCM, prepare for IIT, get into engineering. I also tried till 12th to get into engineering, but it didn't happen. So I told it to my mom, okay, it's not happening for me. She said, okay, do BBA and take it however you want to take it. It's your career. Do whatever you want to do it, and just make sure that you're doing it in the right way. And she knew that I wanted to get into sports management, because I'll not say I was a great player, to be really honest, a great player. I could have played for India and stuff, but it was just that passion for sports, just kept me going. just made sure that I want to contribute to this field. And she knew about it, that I want to get into sports. So it was not that difficult. And you know I wanted to go in 2020, when the pandemic struck. I was advised rightly, not to go that time, because it would only have been, Zoom classes, nothing to do. So then I applied to unis, got a scholarship. So everything fell into place eventually. So it was not that difficult for me to convince. And if you want a definitive answer of how in any other students can convince their parents, I think just show your passion, just show that it's a foolproof degree. It tells you about business management as well, but with sports as well. So it's a foolproof degree. Should tell your passion. You can get in touch with your seniors on LinkedIn. Use LinkedIn. If any parents want to get in touch with any seniors, you can just convince your seniors just to have a talk with your parents. They can actually communicate it better as well, why you should do it. So just be sure that you want to do sports. Just don't go into the course just by thinking it's sports, right? It's so simple. It's just sports. What would it be? So because there are so many things involved into sports. We see any match on the TV, but there are 100 things pre-match, like sponsorships, like logistics, player management, on ground things, sports operations on ground. How do you manage the crowd? How do you make sure that none of the spectators come running on the ground? Everything. So many things over there. So you just need to be, if you can just show your passion to your parents, I believe then they'll understand that you want to do something different, and you
Right.
can easily get into sports.
Show that confidence in the course and in yourself in front of your parents. Definitely. A good advice again. So, okay, now you're living in a PBS, if I'm not mistaken. So, and there's a huge gap between apartments and PBSA. Okay, so how do you define the difference between them? You are living in UK for more than a year now. If you can suggest why, what amenities are better in apartments, what amenities are better in PBSA for students who want to book early, do they need to book early, or can they book when they land over there? How one should prepare themselves for accommodation?
Okay, so Shifali, I now live in an apartment, not in a PBSA. I used to live in a PBSA, right? So I can tell you stories from both the angles, right?
Right.
So when initially I came to the UK, in Liverpool in September last year, I directly moved into my PBSA and everything was sorted. Right, I was given my mattress, every basic necessity that anyone requires on their first day. I was given that, and there was some option. If and back in those days, we used to do we had to do the COVID test, the day 2 and day 5, if I'm not wrong. So they helped my accommodation people. They helped me in that part, right? But in terms of the apartments, obviously it's different. Living on your own, making sure the kitchen is clean, everything is different. But when we moved in to the apartment where I am now in Liverpool, we weren't given the mattresses. We were told that we would be given the mattresses, but we weren't given the mattresses, right? And some lights weren't working and certain things weren't working, right? So here comes the difference in terms of the PBSA, in terms of the private apartments. I'm not saying private apartments are bad. It's great for certain needs of the student, right? But what I'd also suggest, whenever you are coming, for the first 3-4 months, always look for a PBSA. It'll just set you on the right platform. Because just imagine if I would have directly come to this apartment from India, right? I would have moved in, I would have seen no mattresses, the lights weren't working. Obviously, it would have been a panic state, because I didn't, at that point of time, didn't know anyone over here. I have my connects, I know people, so I can get it sorted. But at that time, I didn't know anyone over here. So it's like PBSA would be, even if it's looking a bit expensive initially on the per week method that you calculate, obviously at all times go for the PBSA whenever you come, you know, in the first few months at least of your stay. Yeah.
Right, right. It's important, when you're you mentioned it right again, coming back to the same point. I think this whole uh series, this today's show, is going to be about time. So again, it gives you that time to settle in that new country, that new environment that you have. And being a student, you already have those 100 things on your plate. You're a new student, you have to do all the classes, you have to ensure that you do all your chores on your own, because earlier than this you were actually had someone to take care of you, but now you have to take care of your own self. Now you, if you want to add 101 thing and 102 thing on your plate, then that's your call. But it's always recommended to go within student housing in your initial days, specifically when you are trying to know the country with respect to security and all that. So definitely yes. Correct. Now you mentioned University of Liverpool has multiple clubs, and of course, being very famous over there, there are multiple shows. Now, what kind of social gathering and activities are organized at university with respect to international student, or any student who's already living there, like domestic students?
Yeah, so see, in terms of the clubs, so you'll see, you know, clubs of different nationalities. Part one, in terms of students from India, it's a Hindu stock over here in University of Liverpool. They organize different events such as Diwali ball, some things for on Christmas and New Year, some things for Holi as well. So part it's there in terms of different clubs. Every kind of a club is there. There's marketing club, there's shooting clubs, I believe there's a skating club. You name any activity, you'll find a club, right? You name any activity. In terms of Italian club, you want to learn a new language, there would be a club. So it's everything is there. You just need to manage it the right way. You just need to know what all clubs are there. So in terms of uh, my experience, I came late when I came here. I missed my orientation. So these kind of things I missed out on, in that sense, or getting to know new clubs and stuff. But it again happens, online meets do happen. If you want to enroll in for a new club in terms of sports as well, you'll have cricket clubs, you'll have football clubs, basketball clubs, club team A, team B, team C. So it's an opportunity for everyone. If you can show that you have the right appetite for a specific sport or a specific activity, or you want to contribute or you want to learn, you can easily just contact people at the student support, at the student union, to make sure that you can get across or get into these clubs.
Right, right. Okay, great. And of course, if there's no club, you can start your own club, and you can add this in your resume also. That will help you.
Yeah. Yes.
Great. Now, what, apart from the clubs and everything, what makes, and of course, ranking is also with respect to your course, what makes University of Liverpool different from the other UK universities?
Okay. So I can give this answer in terms of the living experience as well in this city, right? So whenever I was initially shortlisting different unis that I wanted to go, I always looked at the city as well. I never wanted to go to London. I'm not saying it's not good for international student, but what I felt was, at my budget that I had initially planned, London would have been a little expensive, right? So I started seeing cities that are good for students in terms of the budget as well. Budget was the foremost priority for me at that point of time. So Liverpool, as I said, it's really different from all the other UK cities. I have been to a few. It's really different. It just gives you that time that you want. It just gives you that space that you want, in that sense. And Uni of Liverpool, what made it different for me was the flexibility that it offered. The the student support that they offered. They were always in touch with you in terms of anything, because last year in the periods of December and January, COVID hit the UK again really bad, and I also got COVID. And those people were in constant touch. The student support people were in constant touch, that how are you doing. Even in terms of emergency funds, they released out a scheme last year that's still in place this year as well. So it's the the living experience in this city, plus the flexibility that Uni of provided, I think, where the game changes in that sense.
Sorry. True. So you mentioned about living, like you mentioned about city, that while you were shortlisting the university, city also played a very important role. And of course, London is known for their expense, and apart from other cities also. Now, if you can share, what is the cost of living in Liverpool, and how did you manage your cost of living during those COVID times also? Because over at that moment of time, everything was closed, or either they were on high prices and all.
So in terms of the budget part, and how I mm, made sure it went well. So when I came, after about 2 months, I joined ARC. It's a recruitment agency for part-time jobs, for activities, for different events that happen. They offer you jobs. So I joined that, and it was good. It was like good work. They treated you fairly. So the you if you even I did about 15-16 hours per week. So I, in that sense as well, I earned good amount to sustain myself, right? And in terms of the how I paid my accommodation fees and everything. So before coming from India, I transferred it in one go. So I was relieved of that expense. So what expense I had to take care of was only my own expenses, right? In terms of food, in terms of going out, and any other activities, shopping and stuff.
Right,
Yeah,
living
and
expenses.
and yeah, so per month in Liverpool, uh, you can easily, if you are rigid on how you live, if you follow a set pattern, easily you can survive the month on 500, 450, 500, depending on where you live, right? Because if you live on the outskirts, I have seen people advertising rooms for about 200 a month as well, right? But it's so out that you cannot enjoy the city life. Here in the city where I live, we are four people sharing the flat, so it comes down to about 225 a month excluding bills. So
Right.
it depends on how where you live, but except the living cost, if I exclude the living cost, it's really up to a person and how rigid they can be in their allowances, how they want to take it ahead. So yeah.
Right. Rest depends on the lifestyle that you want to live. If you want to party,
Yes.
of course, the
Yeah.
cost going to be higher. If you cook inside, if on your own, the cost going to be a little lower than the party person. And I didn't realize that we are almost done. We are almost done with that time. But before we wrap up the conversation, what is that last? I know I've asked so many advice from you, but because you're so good at giving those, what is the last 2 cents of advice that you want to give for any students who's watching this, regardless that they're an international student or not, or they want to pursue in across overseas or not? Like just an advice for any student or anyone who's actually interested in sports and can maybe take this video as a review for their future reference with respect to the MSc Sports Business and Management.
Okay. So I have actually never given so many advices in a single day yet, but I'll try. So for anyone, for any student at this age, about 20, 21, 22, I'll just say one thing, that whatever you want to do, just give it all your heart. Results sometimes they'll come, they'll not, right? If you want to do something different, just get into it. Think, even back home in India, if I talk with the Indian context, getting into the mainstream is now not the mainstream, right? So it's just like whatever you want to do, just be researched and give it your heart. Okay. And for anyone, any student who's potentially looking to come to a different country, and probably have a life in a different country, I just say one thing, one or two things. Uh, Before coming, give your family time. It's said that you come here, you can go back. Obviously you can take a 7 hour flight and go back and meet them, but it cannot happen all the time, right? So give your family time, give your friends time, because after coming here, you'll be involved in so many things that you actually cannot give your family and friends time. Do that. That's the priority, I believe, for anyone, if they want to potentially coming January or the September 23 intake, if they want to come here, right? Be well researched, as I have said, well researched in terms of how do you want to go about it. make plans, make shorter plans, that you want to achieve this by that time. You want to get into these many clubs, or you want to get into these many networking events, right? Because it's the placement thing over here is not like, it's not like India, right, wherein it would be a career fair and different a placement fair, and different companies would come and pick you, right? You need to go all across, you need to be the one showing that you want to work, right? And I know it's difficult at times, because it's actually sometimes it's so much on your head that you just think, I'll do it later, right? But you have to be researched, and you have to know that I have to do this in these many days. So I think in that case, you'll be able to do a good job over here in the UK or any other country. Just not going on what someone says, right? Also researching your part, and trying to get into touch with people who have been there, who have done it before. Would be my suggestion. Don't just see things on in terms of movies, in terms of anything else, that life gets 100x better if you travel abroad. Yeah, it does, but that comes at a cost. The cost is your sacrifice that you're doing, your time off that you're taking, and focusing on certain things. So everything comes at a price. So yeah.
See, again, I was not wrong. You're really good at giving advices and
Yeah.
advices which you can implement. So, of course, you mentioned research and plan and everything. That's something we always hear. But giving time to family, that will only come from a person who himself has realized the importance of family. And of course, every student who travel abroad, who lives abroad, or even not abroad, just away from the family, at few certain times you do realize that you feel homesick and you want to go back to your mom or your father, but you're so far from there, and you came all the way across to that country. You cross the sea just so that you can prove yourself, you can do a little better, you can live a better life. And what Rishabh said very correctly, that you get a 10x or 100x better life, but it comes at a cost, right,
Yeah.
Rishabh? Great. So
Yeah,
thank
that's
you
correct.
so much. Thank you so much again for joining us. And
No
on
worries,
this
Shafali.
note, we'll be closing our session. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you find it useful. Looking forward to seeing you guys next Friday at 5 p.m. Stay tuned to our social media channel for more information. Thank you so much again. Thank you so much, Rishabh, for joining us.
Thank you, Shafali.